it's, you know, it's deep. There's more to this story, but you know, it's one of those things where that's our business and we'll keep it that way. You know, those years were beautiful and they always will be, but that was then and this is now, you know.
Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm Charlotte and I'm joined by Kasabian Serge for the latest in NME's In Conversation series. Hey Serge, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
So congrats on your 7th album, The Alchemists Euphoria. Could you tell us when you started writing the album and what that process was like?
Around the sort of time I'd just finished the S.L.P album, and I was so around that sort of time, the first kind of riffs and ideas, they that was sort of like the beginning of like, oh, you know, I need to do another record. There needs to be another album. So I had so I had 2 or 3 ideas, not fully formed, but they were on the way to be something great.
And what would you say your mission statement is with this album?
Well, it's about, so within the studio, we're sort of sitting around kicking ideas around about titles and stuff, and I thought a character would be sweet, you know, having some sort of you know, so like with like especially like symbols. I've always been obsessed with symbols, and like the Alchemist symbols. I have them all sort of in my head of this language, this kind of new alphabet that we could make. And I love the word alchemist. I like the idea of bringing, you know, in the context of the studio, bringing different kinds of music together to make something new. And what we've always done is pretty euphoric, and I love the word euphoria. Euphoria is a great word. And then like, you know, when you're creating anything, you get this like, you know, if you're lucky, every now and again you get a moment where you might come up with a great riff or a lyric or something. And, you know, that's the euphoria part. So the idea of having this, you know, the Alchemist Euphoria, like this sort of stopping in time, this like moment that he feels. And then in terms of the record, like I sort of imagined his journey, you know, and then almost this album being the big fork in the road sort of decision, you know. You know, I sort of saw him on, you know, there's like waves, and he's sat on the shore, whether he makes the decision to you know, to stay in the harbour safe or get in the boat, you know. And I think people can relate to that, and we all go through life. At some point there has to be a big decision, you know, and you know, what do you do? Do you have the guts to take the decision, or do you not? And so that's kind of it in a long way.
And I think you'd mentioned this, but there was these rules on the album, you know, no lockdown songs, strict track lengths, no lyrics about the band, etc.
Yeah. There's always rules in every album that I think they're important.
What you were saying about attention span, keeping it.
I just think like it's hard. Blank canvas is horrendous when you can make anything you want, you know. So it's like I think you know, rules are good.
There's a lyric in scripture, got to reach for the light, got to reach for the mic as I walk from the shadow. Is that, contrary to not having lyrics about the band, is that anything to do with you stepping up into the role of frontman?
Yeah, but not specific. I mean, it's just about the feeling of stepping in, you know, that moment. But it doesn't have this, you know, okay, you can say literally the words like that, but you know, it's also about, you know, the moment. The stage lights are on, you know, but that doesn't have to be in a band to feel that moment, you know. You could be you know, waiting to win the Euros.
Was it even more important this time around to change things up sonically?
Not really. I don't think so, because each record, if you go back, I think this album is a culmination of all the records we've made before, but we've stepped on a hell of a lot of ground. If you listen back through each record, you can't really, you know, there's definitely, you know, created a Kasabian sound, of course. It's following on from the ideas that, you know, that have been there from day one. I mean, I just wanted to, you know, for me, the important thing was to get across this, like, attention span. My attention span is shot. I think the world's shot. So if anything, I wanted everything to be super direct. I wanted 4 or 5 songs within one song. I wanted things to change, and I wanted this record to be played and still be fresh and as new. You know, like you know, like when you hear it, because it sort of flies around. So I wanted it to sort of feel that. yeah, I just feel like it's just, you know, like where we went next is sort of, you know, it just follows on from what we've done before. I think.
So obviously this is the first album without Tom.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you've been the chief songwriter in Kasabian, but I'm interested to hear about the impact of not having him in the band anymore on the songs.
Nothing has changed really from the process from the first album, you know, until to this record is exactly the same as it's always been. Yeah, I mean, it's just the trajectory of you know, of everything has just stayed on course because, you know, I'm in the studio every day trying to, you know, come up with some ideas, trying to get some songs together. And in terms of the vision as well, you know, again, it's just like that has stayed exactly the same as it's been from day one. So, you know, it's just a matter of trying to write, you know, wake up every morning going, have you got any good ideas to, you know, see what happens.
And going back to 2020, what were those immediate days like in the aftermath of Tom's departure?
Horrendous. Completely heartbreaking in so many levels. Like, you know, for the band, for my family. And it's just, you know, so after that, as trying to pick up the pieces of your life, basically.
And was there a period where you were considering not continuing the band? And, you know, how long are we talking? Was that a couple of weeks of considerations?
Yeah, of course. There was every emotion you could think of, you know. It's hard to put a sort of time on it, but, you know, ultimately in the end, the band, you know, we wanted to carry on. It's my life's work as well, you know. And, you know, what else were we going to do? You know what I mean?
Looking back, what would you say Tom brought to the band? And now, do you feel differently about that now that he's gone?
I mean, that was, you know, that was then. I mean, you got to understand, within a band, it's, you know, it's deep. There's more to this story, but, you know, it's one of those things where that's our business and we'll keep it that way. You know, those years were beautiful and they always will be, but that was then and this is now, you know.
Mm-hmm. And what's that switch to being the front man been like? I mean, I saw you at Truckfest and I thought you were brilliant at, you know, riling up the crowd and commanding the stage. And I'd read that you'd been studying the greats like Iggy Pop and etc. So what was it specifically that you took from watching through those old tapes of iconic frontmen? And
I mean,
what was it that you
know, it's like I never, no, I never saw myself. You know, I never wanted to be a frontman. I never saw that. I didn't think that was ever going to be part of my life, but now it is. So, and like, you know, once sitting down with the boys and, you know, and figuring that out, it's like then I had to make the choice of, like, you know, it's like, how do I do it? How do I approach it? You know, and I didn't just want to. I couldn't. If I'm going to do anything, then I'm going to do it my way. Like, I think the music that I've made and the band that we are, we've never sort of, you know, we've done it our own way. That was a continuation of me just, you know, on the same tip going, well, I'm not going to stand there with the guitar and sort of hope for the best. You know what I mean? I'm going to try and become a frontman or whatever. But I just thought, well, if I just give myself to the fucking show, you know, like overthink it. And it is very much when I'm writing, I'll have the mic, the beats will be going, and I'll just get into a mode, character, or whatever. So that was the thing, man. Just sing those lyrics from there, where I wrote them from there, you know, and bring the crowd in, be that. I always imagine like myself in that mosh pit, in the centre of it all, and plus, it's a live gig, so I think the songs, they need a different life. It needs a different interpretation, you know. Like, you could sing them really well, but then you may as well listen to the CD, you know. Mm-hmm. When you're in a crowd and we play in front of a lot of people, then it's about, you know, bringing that all in. You know, the Kendrick show. I went to see him a few years ago, and that was insane, inspiring. And then Tyler as well. I think like those shows, the combination of the tune, but then someone just, you know, bringing everyone in.
So just a couple more questions. You supported Liam Gallagher recently at those massive Knebworth shows. Did you chat to him at all about, you know, how to be a frontman, or you know,
Yeah,
how to dispel nerves or anything
He's
like
always
that?
been absolutely beautiful, you know, and from the day one, we'd not played a gig, you know, and you know, he asked us to support him. Do you know what I mean? So that's the kind of belief you've got. He's unbelievable, and he's just so like super switched on. Nothing but sort of support, love. Do you know what I mean? And it's mega.
And did he say anything in particular to you, like, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
warm up your voice in a certain way, or
I mean,
down
nah,
a beer.
man, there's nothing like that. It's more like, you know, pick up the flag, pick it, and march on. You know what I mean? Business as usual.
And so, how far do you want to take this version of Kasabian? You know, do you have similar ambitions with the band now that you know you're older and the band has changed?
I have no idea. God, I've got no idea. And you know, I wouldn't, you know, for everything that's happened the last few years, I have no idea. But you know, I think the shows over the summer, if that's anything to go by, there's a lot, there's some beautiful things on the way. The album feels great, you know, and the band, you know, we're really happy. So you know, we'll see.
And finally, what about the S.L.P? Are you going to continue with that, your solo work?
I mean, there's always like, I've got folders of loads of music, so stuff that gets written gets put into that folder, which is piling up. So we'll see. But you know, this is very much, you know, where we're at now.